Podcast, your number one podcast for all things gaming and Stadia related. This week, you're joining myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone, indeed. Welcome to episode 98. So close, Richie. 98, we're saying now, which is crazy. Crazy stuff. This is, of course, the longest running Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. If you're joining us today for the first time, do click like down below, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia, like the very podcast you're listening to now, whether it be on YouTube or podcast services available out there in the digital cloud. Don't forget, we also bring you Let's Plays, live streams, first looks, and all Stadia conversation that happens in our Discord channel. So if you do want to talk to more like-minded gamers about all things cloud gaming and Stadia, and many, many more things, do click the link in the description below and join us over on Discord. It's a lovely place to talk and chat, and we spend all week talking about games, Richie. We don't just do it on a weekend when we record this show. Of course, we're here to break into all that Stadia news. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you all. We've got a conversation about Google making some epic moves. We've got conversation around embracing more developers. We've got all the FIFA updates, some new games rated, and much, much more. But before we jump into all that exciting content, Richard?
Yeah?
What have you been playing this last week?
I've continued with Mass Effect, and I'm getting really deep in the story now. We were actually talking about this last night when we were in a bar, because we do actually socialise outside content creation.
We can now as well.
Yeah, great. And yet we still end up talking about games.
Yeah, it's almost like it's our hobby, it's our passion, it's our most fun pastime. But yeah, we did indeed. Mass Effect.
In fact, if you hadn't texted me last night saying you fancy going out for a drink or two, I think I probably would have finished Mass Effect. That's how close to the end of the story I am.
I'm pulling you away.
But of course, as all nights out, good nights out end, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning and we were still drinking in my kitchen.
Yeah, if my voice seems a bit croakier than normal, it was talking too loud over music and stuff, and a couple of drinks. Let's just say there's a bottle of rum out there that's sat empty because of us. But yeah, it was a great night. Been playing anything else in between Mass Effect? Any Stadia stuff? Those pro games been tickling your fancy?
I did say I was going to jump into Valkyria Chronicles, and I did for about half an hour, and just went, nah, it's not for me. I can see the appeal, but yeah, I just didn't really want to give it that much time.
Mm-hmm. You have done a lot of graft on JRPGs at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's different to most of the JRPGs I've played, because it's very strategy orientated. So you have like a squad of troops with different like some might be anti-tanks things, some are normal like foot soldiers, that sort of thing, and you have to kind of outmaneuver basically the enemy across, like, you get like characters have so much movement. You've got to like take out enemy stuff and capture the bases, that sort of stuff.
It's a bit like JRPG chess.
Yeah, kind of.
In its most boring description ever.
Yeah.
So, fantastic. I've been checking out Grime. I did a first look, available on the channel now. Of course, youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. Really enjoyed my time with it, actually. Pleasantly surprised. It was probably I think when we were discussing it last week with our special guest, Bryant, from the Nerf Report, we mentioned that was probably one of the cream of the crop games from this month's Pro Selection. Yeah. And if you've not checked it out yet, folks, really good. Starts off with a very interesting cinematic piece, throws you into the kind of underworld that is the game, and yeah, the character creation details, really fun. Lots of different bad guys to fight. There is a steep learning curve when it comes to you die, and you do go back, kind of Metroidvania style, Demon Souls style, to a save point, and you've got to grind your way back up. But lots of depth in there, lots of layers. They introduce different weapons, skills and abilities that you pick up throughout the course of the game. And I made it to the first boss fight, which I've seen some people over on social channels having some difficulty with. It's a giant stone face that's got multiple arms, tendrils, as you will. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It's not really my genre of game, but the hour or so that I did play, thoroughly enjoyed it, and definitely recommend people check that one out. In between that, Richie, we also went back this past Thursday because we do obviously play with the Stadia community every Thursday, 8 PM UK time, over on our channel. You can join us. We always try and focus on some multiplayer games to get the community involved in playing. And we dive back into the ever fun Rainbow Six Siege once again for a special limited time event, which was called Containment.
Yeah.
Had a really good time with all of you lovely people out there in the audience. And so Containment, Richie, let's talk about that a little bit before we get into the actual news. We felt it was a teaser for what Rainbow Six Extraction is possibly going to be.
Yes and no. It feels like if they take... I think what they've done is they took some of the ideas, some of the core concepts behind Extraction and made a Rainbow Six game mode using them. It's very much Rainbow Six Siege. And that so that you'll go... One side will be just the operatives, one side will be the... What did they call them?
It's a few different things, because they called them the Chimera, and then in the description on the website it said like Protheans versus something else.
Yeah, well, I'm going to refer to them as the Infected just for the sake of this conversation. So the one side will be the Infected don't have any don't have guns basically, but they can for some reason put up barricades, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, that was always fun to see these alien creatures who fight with their bare hands.
Yeah. They're on the defensive. They've got they're on the defensive. They've got two nests to defend, and then a master nest where the operatives have to get in and take out the two sub nests before they can take out the master nest. Yeah. So it's quite a unique take. It's similar, I think, to like the bomb disposal stuff.
Yeah, defuse the bomb, destroy the nest, same thing.
Yeah.
Against the clock.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, really fun. I had a good couple of laughs at just watching these alien creatures put up like steel barricades and put barbed wire on the floor. Yet they can't use weapons. But yeah, created a very interesting dynamic, and it was definitely a steep learning curve for us, both doing the defending and attacking, because we didn't know what the aliens were capable of. We didn't know what their health was like. And obviously we played with some of the community at first. We took on some strangers, and we did get better at it. We actually won one of our final games at the end, after we got our asses handed to us a lot of times by some people clearly playing mouse and keyboard out there, just with how quick and responsive they were. But we did it. We did it with the help of Jem and a bunch of other people in the Stadia community too.
One of the most fun I had though was when you're infected, you can just jump, basically smash through walls.
You get like a power charge, don't you, to go through the destructible environments. I really enjoyed it. Again, just something slightly different. That's what's great with these timed events. If you've not checked it out already, I believe it does run until possibly the 24th of this month. It's got a couple of weeks, 3 weeks on it.
It's got a bit of legs on it, so it's...
but yeah, definitely got me interested, excited a little bit more for Extraction, which we know we mentioned on the podcast a few weeks ago now that it has been delayed until 2022. But the way this was branded, and it had like yellow tape over everything, the weapons, the characters all had that little splash of yellow, which is very much the marketing design for Rainbow Six Extraction. It would have, in my opinion, this would have been like a little timed event tease for the Siege audience to be kind of appetite whetted for what would have been Extraction coming out in the next coming weeks. But alas, it's been pushed back a little bit more. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Containment event come back in some way, shape or form at the turn of the year to kind of lead up to Extraction again, because it's smart, right? You've got your 6 million plus constant Siege players, that audience, you want them to buy the next title in the franchise. What better way than to showcase some of the aliens, some of the creatures, some of the differences that change it from Siege. And we'll probably be jumping back into Siege at some point as well. But yeah, it was just nice to have something different. Could have been a couple of different game modes I would have liked, but maybe they're saving them for a future limited event. So fantastic fun. If you haven't checked it out already, the video is of course available on the YouTube channel. But between live streams and Let's Plays, we are up to episode 98, so we should probably tell people that we have some special things planned for the weekend of episode 100. We're going to obviously record the podcast as standard, but we want to do a couple of little things in between, which we're just finalising now. Probably some gaming, no doubt, Richie, probably. I'm thinking gaming in some way, shape or form. Let us know in the comments below or in the Discord chat what you'd like to do. Would you like to do a Q&A? Again, this show is for you, our audience. It's our hobby, but we do it for you as well. Let us know. Like, do you want to see gameplay? Do you want a Q&A session? Let us know. It's an open door policy. Just make sure you wipe your feet when you come in. That's all we ask. Kind and courteous. Obviously, lots of things in the pipeline for the future, for the channel and stuff, which we always talk about. And that is made all the more possible by our wonderful members out there. So we have over 50 members here on the YouTube channel. You can click join below if you want to help us out, help us grow a little bit more. But more importantly, just support us in what we do. Helps us bring you better content, helps us reinvest in the channel. Just like we mentioned as part of the C stream, but Gem Bear Gaming, formerly known as, over there, wonderful content creator if you've not checked out his stuff. And of course, he joined as well. So he's a member. Shout out to Gem. Thank you very much for your support. And every other one of you who does give us that extra little bit to push us on. Because it's nice to see, Richie.
It is.
Nice to see. Makes us feel loved. Of course, before we get into the news, final thing for kind of housekeeping this week is Tom's still here. He's just away with his little baby Josh. And I've seen loads of you giving him all well wishes and love over on Twitter. But we do need, Richie, another hashtag to send him on Monday mornings, of course. He's actually told me in person he can't actually survive without being pestered by random hashtags. He absolutely loves it. And he doesn't get out of bed until he sees them. So what should we do for Tom's hashtag for Daddy this week?
Well, I thought we'd keep it in line with the news this week and go with Stadia is epic.
That's a nice little one. See that trending. So you do what you do best, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Tweet at AdaxisLP with the words hashtag Stadia is epic. And yes, that does pertain to the stories for the week, Richie. So without further delay, let's get into the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
And it's been a good week for news. Not so much Stadia news, if we're honest.
Yeah.
It's quite dry, is the old stories well out there. But we've done our work, as we always do. We've dug deep and we've pulled in some interesting gaming stories, some of which pretty much all relate to Stadia in some way, because we are all gamers at heart, and I know you people watching and listening out there do listen to a lot of different content. You do play on all consoles, because we have a mantra here that you can play anywhere that makes you happy. I'll play where it makes you the most happy. You know what it is. Yeah. It's probably wrote out somewhere. First story of the week.
Profile.
Yeah, it's the mantra. There you go. Yeah. It's on your profile. Check out Richie's profile on Twitter. First story of the week, quite a big one. As part of the Epic Games story and news that's still coming out from their court cases and their files. Of course, Epic, creators of the very, very successful, if not the most successful, Battle Royale, Fortnite, if you've not heard of it, little game, it's a little startup company. They're going to court over the rules regarding their storefronts with Apple and Google at the same time, and these court filings are essentially coming out to the public as part of the court case. And an interesting one came out this week, and I'll read it verbatim. Google has gone as far to share its monopoly profits with business partners to secure their agreement to fence out competition. Has developed a series of internal projects to address and they refer to it as the contagion. Contagion. We're back to Rainbow Six containment speak. Is perceived from efforts by Epic and others to offer consumers and developers competitive alternatives, and has even contemplated buying some or all of Epic to squelch that threat. So essentially, from this court case, we're finding out that the way Google wanted to get around Fortnite and Epic breaking away and doing their own content was to just straight up do what companies with lots of money do and think of just acquiring the problem.
You can imagine just a load of the executives in the boardroom talking like, right, next on the agenda is, okay, the Epic lawsuit. How do we make this go away? And someone just goes, can we just buy them?
Yeah.
That'll just buy them. That'll make it easier.
Just throw money at the problem. If you throw enough, it will go away eventually.
To be fair, it wouldn't actually be a bad purchase for Google, because they get access to the Epic Games Store. They get the rights to Unreal, the Unreal Engine. They get Fortnite. There's three huge quivers to the ball that they're adding. But the other side of that is them three things cost a fuck ton of money.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to put a price on Epic Games now. You're totally right there. It's not just the like monolith that is Fortnite. It's also the Unreal Engine, which so many titles run on now, and we know Stadia is, of course, equipped to deal with Unreal. It's probably the more preferred engine to use. But we've discussed on the podcast before the Unreal Engine 5's tech demo, how beautifully stunning that looks, and there's a lot of investment in Epic. And not only that, they make millions and millions of pounds, dollars, yen, whatever, like hand over fist now because of like Fortnite. It's such a cash cow for them, and like you said, they've launched their own Epic Games Store, which I did actually read an article today saying they're not actually going to turn a profit on it until probably 2027 because it costs so much money to get their exclusives, and we've spoken of that as well.
I know people out there have mixed feelings with the Epic Games Store. I've personally never actually used it, so I don't really have any insight into how it functions. But one of the things I think has been interesting is because they have a different monetization model where I think they take a smaller cut, which they can do because of the Fallout money and the money coming in from Unreal Engine, as they keep constantly licensing that out to practically everyone in the world. That's actually forced the hands of other like storefronts to actually change their model. I think Steam have tweaked things, Sony, Microsoft have tweaked things. But this only happened really because Epic launched their store. Yeah,
it can just upset the balance of things, and I can
basically
imagine.
By taking a smaller cut, they put more money in the hands of the developers, which, as a fan of video games, that's kind of where I want the money.
Yeah, you want it to be going back into the people who make the games, not the people that just host them.
So they can make more games, so they can pay the staff better, so they can hire more staff, so they don't have to do things like crunch.
It's interesting to see. It's crazy to think they've said this was probably around back in the past as well. They were doing this, which is interesting because Stadia will have been very much in its infancy. Well, I mean, it still is, but you know what I mean, like really, really early doors when all this was kind of coming to fruition. But I'm just trying to think, like, could you picture a world where the headlines were just Google acquires Epic, and then, like I said, not only the money.
Can you imagine a world where Microsoft acquires Bethesda?
Well, yeah, stranger things have happened, will happen.
It's that. I think it's that sort of level of deal. But I've got a feeling these conversations didn't go far because these are kind of just in the documents handed over the courts. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be the minutes of a meeting where it was discussed, and maybe someone did a bit of legwork to look into is it viable, which I'm guessing considering we had absolutely nothing until this court case. I think they probably didn't go far with it.
Yeah, certainly. There's obviously this court case has brought out so much. We've got loads of news on the show regarding it in the past, and it's just interesting to think of a world where do you think, Richie, if Google owned Epic, we would see Fortnite on the Stadia platform?
Well, yeah, you'd expect it to. It would. You kind of have to, wouldn't you? Like how. Imagine the headlines if Google announced that they've bought Epic, but Fortnite's still not coming to Stadia.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see just like kind of what extra pull power it would give them as a platform, especially with like Unreal. If you have something written into contracts where if you want to use the Unreal Engine for your game, you could arguably, as the owner of the product, put in a clause that says you need to put Stadia as a potential platform to use Unreal, and then that would overnight
maybe
just increase.
Maybe that as an option. That this is the price to lease out Unreal, but this is the price to lease out Unreal if you bring it to Stadia and get a discount.
Yeah, discount off.
But there again, you could integrate Stadia and the Epic Game Store into the same service, so any game on the Epic Game Store gets migrated to Stadia. Or maybe Stadia becomes the back end for the Epic Game Store, so the Epic Game Store then has a cloud component. So it's this game on there. It has a cloud version, but it's actually running on Stadia.
Yeah, there's a lot. Obviously, this is just a little tidbit that we've pulled out. But what a time it could have been. Be very, very interesting because then everything on. I mean, if they owned it, does the Epic Game Store have like a cloud option through it, like GeForce Now kind of thing? Like if you have the Epic Game Store and you have the Stadia tech, and remember at the moment their business model is to sell it out to other potential businesses. You could just fold them all into one in the Epic Game Store. I think they had like the Batman Arkham collection was one of their lists they paid millions for. Just click to play through Stadia via Epic Games instead. You don't even need to download it, and you're just merging businesses into one.
It's one of them things. As a Stadia player, I kind of wish Google had bought Epic. But there again, as just a game in general, I kind of like Epic still being this massive independent presence because there isn't that many of them out there, especially with the Bethesda Microsoft deal anymore. And occasionally you need someone like Epic to rock the boat a little bit to force change in the industry.
Yeah, certainly. And we've seen like the workarounds and the impact it's had on Fortnite on Android and Fortnite on iOS, Apple devices. It's I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but it's a case that we've covered several times on the podcast already, and it's interesting, all these just little tidbits that keep coming out of
Epic
it.
are literally, this came out of a lawsuit that Epic are suing Google and Apple, which they're trying to push for more consumer advocacy that allow other storefronts to be uploaded onto Android and Apple devices.
Yeah.
So as a user of Android, if I was a user of an Apple device, then kind of Epic. Well, this is just business fighting over money, basically. The fallout of this could be better features for the end consumer.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, and we'll of course keep our eyes on it. We should probably point out as well, Epic aren't like the consumer advocacy torchbearers.
I'm not trying to paint them in that picture.
Oh yeah. But because it's interesting, I've seen like loads of coverage in the games media about it's great for consumer this and that. But at the end of the day, they are still a business, and it's obviously going to work out financially for them if they can break the mold a little bit, because then more people are willing to go to their storefront, which then makes their business bigger and more money down the line. So it's not they're not going away anytime soon. They've certainly got the millions to rock the boat a little bit more.
This lawsuit, I still think it's got quite a lot of legs left in it. It's not over by a long shot.
Yeah, it certainly is. They're just throwing that Epic money around. Moving on then, Richie, to story number 2 of the week. Speaking of throwing money around, we return once again to our favourite company. The Embracer Group are back for another acquisition. I was actually getting worried at one point, Richie. They've gone several months without acquiring some studios. So, second up on the list, Embracer Group, of course, the parent company of THQ Nordic, Saber Interactive, Koch Media. Oh, flashbacks to that Koch Media presentation then, Richie, once again.
That was rough.
And of course, Gearbox. So they have a big collection over at Embracer Group. Sorry, they've had another 8 studios to their collection. Notably, this time it includes the Duke Nukem studio, 3D Realms, which I don't think I've done a great game in that long. But they have 6 projects in the works, alongside Support Studio, Slipgate Ironworks. They're going to be folded into Saber Interactive. Lost in Harmony and 1111 Memories developer Digixart. These are the people, of course, who are making the upcoming procedural road trip game Road 96, which was coming to Stadia. It's the one our viewers can see now. Of course, we reported 3 weeks ago with Clive that this game is no longer coming to Stadia. Unfortunately, because the development team is so small, they just don't have the resources to bring the game to yet another platform. Obviously, the way this links in with Stadia for me is THQ Nordic. We have games like Saints Row and stuff on the platform. Koch Media, of course, brought nothing of any relevance to their presentation at the Game Awards. We've mentioned Gearbox before. We're hoping to see Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Fingers crossed come across. We've not had any news on that, but again, fingers crossed. But yeah, this interesting one. More studios purchased. But Road 96, I'm hoping, with a little financial backing from the Embracer Group, that might actually give Digixart the required funds and resources to actually port this game to Stadia. So it might be back on the cards. What do you think?
Possibly, but I'm thinking with the timelines of it, it's entirely possible this is went the other way. The purchase of the studio may have been what's jettisoned Stadia from the list of platforms. Because we're only hearing about this acquisition now, but this has probably been in the works for a couple of months.
Yeah, very true. But yeah.
But at the very least, I wouldn't expect any change to that stance in the near future, to be honest.
Yeah, there's not that many. There are a couple of other studios. There's a VR studio, Vertigo Games. They're going to be part of Koch Media. Coffee Stain Studios are going to be merged with Easy Trigger. A lot of these studios are like small. You've probably not heard of them. They work on like some mobile games. There's Deep Rock, Galactic developer Ghost Ship Games. Ghost Ship Games. Why do I feel like I've heard them? I feel like I'm thinking of Overcooked when I'm thinking of Ghost Ship Games for some reason. Ghost Town Games, I think, is Overcooked. So many crazy names for these developers, but essentially, they're going to bring them all together, and that brings the Embracer Group up to 70 game studios in total, Richie. 70. They've almost got as many studios as we've done podcast episodes, which is scary.
Who will reach 100 first? Sounds of Stadia or Embracer Group?
It's a close race. It's a very close race, and I'm just waiting to still see after all these years, like even before we did the podcast talking about and reading about Embracer Group. When are we going to see like the fruits of their labours? Because it feels like they've got many plates spinning.
The thing I just don't get is how they're financing this. Like, where's the money coming from for all these purchases? Like, because they haven't released that many games. Is it just Borderlands money? Is it literally...
I mean, they've done a lot of the remasters. So we had the Saints Row one, we had SpongeBob Rehydrated, we had Destroy All Humans remastered. So a lot of their titles, I think, from the IP they've acquired, they've probably quite smartly invested into old projects that a lot of the groundwork is already done. So I'd imagine the turnaround for those titles isn't, obviously it's not as expensive because everything's already done. You just obviously it still takes a lot of work, but nowhere near as starting from the ground up from scratch. We obviously know they've got Time Splitters in the works as well. Like Dambuster Studios is all umbrellaed by Embracer. Saber Interactive, they do a lot of stuff, but just I still feel like I'm waiting for this wave of IP to come out, and it's been going on several years now.
Well, that's the thing. They've just seem to keep buying studios. I think they've been quite savvy with how the purchases, because they seem to be buying small indie studios that maybe released one game or haven't released anything, or just support studios. Then they seem to be folding them into their master studios, so they're probably staying semi-independent, some of them, or maybe they're just working as support studios for a Saber or Koch Media, whatever. So I think that they're targeting very affordable studios and then folding them into the other stuff to grow that way. Yeah. But I just sometimes do wonder, like, where does this money come from? Like,
yeah, you've got to imagine Borderlands is the biggest pull for them. It's definitely, in my opinion, the biggest IP they own. I think when they purchased them, that was a bit of a surprise because Gearbox could have quite happily probably been picked up by one of the bigger players in the industry, or just stayed independent. They were big enough on their own already. Yet here we are. So gobble gobble, Embracer Group, and hopefully, fingers crossed, all this extra work going into studios does come to the benefit of Stadia. They have put a lot of titles out on the platform, so fingers crossed we see some more. And I'd just like to hear some news on them, like on all of these titles.
Yep, they're still buying things.
Yeah, because again, without going back to that god awful presentation all the time. Yeah, they didn't really show much at that conference. It was like a good 2 hours of our lives I feel like we lost, but I didn't leave thinking I was looking forward to barely anything they showcased.
That was the announcement of Saber Interactive, wasn't it? Like their new like studio.
I've all the stuff on everything from that.
It was all the stuff that Saber's going to be working on. But that's why, because everything was so early development, they had nothing to show, which was kind of like, why are you doing a full hour press conference?
Yeah, certainly was. But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on Embracer Group as well as Epic as we tick away, and hopefully, again, I'd love to see just the turn of the year. It's like, yes, all these titles are coming out and the Stadia logo is plastered all over them. It'd be fantastic to see. But that's so far away still. Just like story number 3, Take-Two had a earnings call this past week. Of course, Take-Two, many games they put out. Obviously, they don't own, but they do publish a lot of stuff regarding Rockstar games as well. So Red Dead Redemption, which you've got on Stadia, Grand Theft Auto, of course, 5. That's still I think it's like 150 million sold at this point.
There's lots of hints that GTA 5 is coming to Stadia as well. I keep seeing occasionally people unearthing things of like in the code or in random blog posts where the Stadia is mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm quite optimistic that when they get the next-gen Grand Theft Auto 5, we'll get it on Stadia.
Oh, could you imagine? Of course, Mafia and Mafia Trilogy is one of the things they also put out, Take-Two. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto, Mafia, Red Dead, the NBA series as well, 2K. We've got those titles on Stadia too. And they did summarise as well in the earnings report that they've sold 38 million copies of BioShock, which I would love to see on the platform. You're a big Civilization fan, Richie. They've sold 58 million units across that IP. And NBA 2K series hits 112 million units. So they're definitely no slouch over there at 2K.
The Grand Theft Auto news numbers are insane. It's like, when you look at them, it's like, oh yeah, we've just sold another 10 million copies since this year. It's like, who are these 10 million people who just decided this year to buy Grand Theft Auto 5?
it's so long ago since I remember, like, my life when Grand Theft Auto 5 first came out was so different. I didn't own my home. I didn't live here. I remember getting Grand Theft Auto and going out. Yeah, I remember going out with friends for some food, and we sat talking about all the funny moments in the story and stuff. And I was just a child, like very much a child. I mean, I'm still a bit of a child now, but that was like so long ago now. It's coming up on 10 years nearly, and it's jumped several platforms. So yeah,
it's about to enter its third console generation,
which is it's crazy. And it's Grand Theft Auto Online, standalone,
and
whatever that looks like.
Selling. Like
again, we joked about Epic, but yeah, Grand Theft Auto Online, just again those shark books, shark cards that people love to just buy like a fake house with and cosmetics and stuff. It's
I think
an anomaly.
I mean, I think what puts it into context is they've sold Grand Theft Auto sold 10 million copies this year. The NBA 2K series across its entire lifespan has sold 112 million copies, and it's like that's just insane when you think about it. One game versus the entire and NBA 2K basketball's a big franchise.
Yeah,
like
it's absolutely insane numbers. And the weird thing is like as soon as it comes out on current gen, PS5, Series X, fingers crossed, Stadia. Millions more people will buy it again for probably the third, fourth, fifth time, whatever it is, and it's absolutely unheard of. It's crazy. But back to the earnings report in itself. The reason we're talking about it now is, and I bring up Mafia, of course, bit of a sore subject still going on our viewers and listeners out there would like an update, so we'll have an update on that. Mafia Definitive Edition Trilogy, of course, came out on 25th of September 2020 on other platforms. It has now been 317 days since the game came out on other platforms. Of course, even longer since it was actually announced for Stadia. And at this point, it's probably even longer since we heard anything from Hangar 13, 2K, all Stadia's Twitter handles or threads, forums, comment sections. They just don't want to reveal anything about where the hell this game's at. So we won't let rest on that one for too long. The reason I wanted to include it here, Richie, is because, of course, it's 3 titles that we should be seeing on the platform. That it's been nearly a year now. But the earnings report for 2K Take-Two came out and suggested it was leaked around E3, and we did cover it on the podcast, but it's been kind of, again, reiterated here. The Mafia studio Hangar 13 is said to be working on a new title described as Cthulhu meets Saints Row. And the XCOM developer Firaxis is reportedly creating a Marvel-themed turn-based strategy game. So similar to XCOM, but with Marvel heroes. So
Marvel XCOM sounds interesting.
It does, right? It does. So they've not offered anything further on what these new franchises are, other than like a brief kind of description. But we do have Gamescom coming up in the next couple of weeks at the end of, I think, 24th of August. We may cover it on the channel, we may not, depending on the weather. But yeah, so two titles. Again, I'd like to say if we're expecting Mafia from Hangar 13, there's nothing to say we won't see these new titles on. Maybe XCOM 1 not so much, but when Hangar 13 finally finish off on the long-awaited Mafia titles being ported to Stadia, there's nothing to say the newer title isn't designed with Stadia in mind, depending on how these contract deals. How does a Cthulhu meets Saints Row video game sit with you?
It sounds very interesting. I'd like to see like some actual footage of what the game is, because at the moment it's just words.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a bit skeptical with Take-Two because of Mafia. They're taking this long to get Mafia over. It's just either there's some pretty severe problems in actually getting the port done, or it's such a low priority that it's just not. They have no focus on, which is either way they're both problematic things from a Stadia perspective about getting these titles across.
Yes, they certainly are. I did see some people on social media as well sharing from the earnings report that a few of the slides from the actual presentation showcased, and there was no kind of Stadia logo on a lot of things. And although when it did come to the future and cloud gaming platforms, they did say they were investing in cloud gaming, and the Stadia logo was there. But not in the way you would want them to say. I think it was missing from one of the particular slides that people, I think, are getting a bit worried that a lot of these companies are now starting to kind of go off the idea of a port to Stadia, which we've said all along, this is down to Google to dig deep and do what they need to do to make these contracts happen. Because if after 2 years...
The platform's in its infancy, they're probably not going to unfortunately Take-Two aren't going to make as much money as they'd like out of Mafia and coming to Stadia.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just the reality. But Google just need to weather these, keep growing the platform, keep getting the games, and occasionally just having to accept they're going to have to take this financial hit.
Yeah.
Until Stadia is seen as a mainstream gaming solution, which it isn't yet.
Yeah, and that's we need to be honest with ourselves that it is still in its infancy. The user base we know isn't it's nowhere near as large as the other ones. You can see that even just by looking on socials. Like, look at how many followers they have on Twitter. Look at how many views the videos get. I think we discussed pre-show that the Merek's Market trailer had like 4,000 views on the Stadia official YouTube channel, and then on the PlayStation one, rightly so, it's got like 24,000. So that's your difference in audiences. You're talking like a fifth of what actually exists, and that's going to take time and it takes investment. But you need to have this communications with these studios to say, like, get the games on.
I think Merek's Market might show a best case scenario rather than a worst case, because that game's going to be more visible in Stadia than it is on PlayStation.
Yeah, we saw it with indies on like the Switch when that first launched. We saw it on PS4 when there wasn't many tentpole AAA games, so the library was kind of buffed out a little bit with these smaller titles. But again, it is just, I think Adam Original Penguin posted on one of the threads saying it's just like a catch-22, where it is kind of like you need to invest to get the games because the audience won't grow if you don't have the games. And they know that.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
Everyone out there knows that. No need to get yourself worked up about it. It's just the reality is that Stadia is not the platform that the behemoths that are PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch are. They've had decades to get to this point. So just a bit of patience, but definitely investment required from all parties.
That's the main thing. I don't think Stadia's on any threat of going away anytime soon. We know they've got plans for the next few years, at least. And I think they've been having many conversations about how to grow the player base in a way that makes sense economically. That's probably why they're not just throwing bags of money at every single game that comes out, because they're probably going, if we throw the money at this and we take this hit, how much will it grow our player base?
Mm-hmm. Is it a worthy investment? It's all business at the end of the day. We just spoke about it in story number 1 about Epic. Like, they launched their own storefront and they've had to spend millions and millions to get exclusive titles, games, and obviously it's a little bit easier to port to a PC platform, and we know Stadia's porting they've done some work in the background to make that easier and going forward. They, like you said, they've got the roadmap in place for developers. It's just a case of what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of scenario. But in regards to this story, 2K, we've seen obviously NBA has came. I can't remember now. I don't play basketball, but it needs to keep happening. And as we head into the kind of the final quarter of 2021, I want to be talking, our audience and I want us to be talking about these big games. Grand Theft Auto Online with crossplay. That would be phenomenal. Mafia Trilogy eventually. That would be great to see, or even just communicate with it. But again, and again, we'll go around because people, gamers, we just want to talk about the next best thing. It always is with gaming. It's always the next best thing. It's very rare, Grand Theft Auto aside, that a game has so many legs that it's still popular 7-8 years later.
I love episodes on this podcast when we get a load of game announcements and we can just sit there and just go through, this is the game that's coming, this is the game that's coming, this is the game that's coming, rather than going, well, Mafia's been almost a year since it should have come.
Yeah,
it's just not as fun. I want the games.
Yeah, you want to. Coming. Tell me what's coming. So moving on then, Richie. Let's move into the next story. FIFA22 has got some interesting news stories dropped this week as we get close to release it. Of course, the football seasons across the globe are now kicking off, quite literally, and starting. So the Euros are over, the Olympics is over. Now we're getting some gameplay footage for FIFA 22, and EA Sports have announced some exclusive features that are coming, of course, exclusively to PlayStation 5, Series X, and Stadia. Not PC, not last gen, PS4, Xbox One.
Baffles me still that PC is considered in the last gen category rather than the next gen category, but EA is EA.
Yeah, EA is doing the EA things. Of course, hypermotion technology they've mentioned is going to feature 11v11 mocap suits to get dynamic movement and all these other magical things, which I'm sure we will see in action. Our viewers out there can see it in action on the video. In terms of some of the other features they've described as exclusive, which again, it's we'll get into it, but it's a bit of fluff. So it said new cinematics including warm-up sequences, dressing room moments, teams inspecting the pitch as well as the groundkeeper making some last-minute preparations. If your team is underperforming in an important match, you might see the crowd leaving early, which does happen, believe it or not, in real life.
That's actually that's one of the fluffy features I kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great.
More work in the crowd to make the stadiums feel a bit more live rather than just copy and paste like the same four characters.
Yeah.
With slightly different palette swaps of hair colour and stuff.
Certainly. We've also reported on, we know you're going to be able to make your own clubs. They've got new reveal cinematics, so when you get the managerial job, updated transfer announcements take place at the stadium, not just the press room. Your player career journey is picked up by the commentary team as banter. Pardon me. But essentially, aside from the hypermotion stuff, all of this just sounds like lots of like little additional like cutscenes and stuff. It doesn't scream next gen to me.
The cutscene stuff, that sounds like, to me, as someone who mainly plays career mode, I kind of, when I was reading this story, it's like, I did sigh a bit, because career mode can be painfully slow to get through a season anyway, and if you start throwing more cutscenes and stuff, it will slow down the pace of career mode, and they'll be cool at first, but it's like, when they first brought in like the transfer negotiations, it was cool at first, but once you've been through one or two, you've been through them all. Yeah. And now I just hold X and just skip through every piece of dialogue. In the current one, it's the post game interviews. I kind of just skip through the dialogue.
Yeah,
and picked one of the few canned answers. It's like, and this is what I think a lot of these features are going to do. It's like, it's just kind of window dressing that you'll get tired of quickly.
A lot of them, like window dressing is a great way to describe it. It is very much just saying that we've added some new features. I totally believe all of this could have been done on last gen. You're telling me the PlayStation 4 can't add an extra audio bite of the commentary team referring to your player, or they can't show a cinematic of a groundskeeper checking the grass before the game starts. Not like, I don't understand. It's clearly just some features they've put aside to say, like, what can we put on the back of the box to say, you need to buy this year's iteration. Tick, 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 tick. There you go. There's 5 bullet points. Spend some more money on the next-gen version. In essence. Of course, hypermotion stuff, that's going to be great. That is very much next-gen gameplay.
Yeah, that's a gameplay improvement. But I'm all for that.
All of these listed as features, they're great to have, but I wouldn't really call them features. I'd just say you've just added a few more dynamic bits in and around the game before and after.
Custom team and stadium customization stuff looks pretty cool, though.
Yeah, loads of it looks fantastic. I think it is a bit fluffy to say that it's exclusive features that could only be done, only possible by the power of next gen. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we're getting the next gen version, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, now the football season has begun. Yeah. It's basically all the arguments we said about FIFA 21 coming so late, is that you miss the hype and the energy of the domestic season starting. Like, all sports fans out there will know the build up to kind of game match day. It's got that hype, and you go watch the game, you watch the highlights, you potentially play the game, and then you get home and you want to relive it. You want to do your career mode. You want to play your matches across any sport. There's no better time to really get involved. So the fact that we're getting a day and date with next gen features, and if they market it right, we've suggested before on the podcast, the marketing for FIFA 22 for Stadia specifically could be phenomenal if they do everything right. If they do the warm-ups, Richie, they do them all important lunges and stretches.
Do a play and watch like package that comes bundled with FIFA.
Yeah, get me some celebrities.
That would literally be the perfect thing. So you can just go on. Maybe have a custom controller or something with it.
Yeah.
These little things, like say if you're that sort of casual gamer who, I'm interested in getting the new Google TV, and then you go to the shop, and then for a couple of pounds more, I can get this version. It comes with a game controller. And it comes with FIFA.
Yeah.
I like FIFA. I'll buy that.
Get some, and all that FUT stuff as well. We've said about it using on its phone, but the marketing of this on Stadia should sell itself. Grab yourself some footballers, pay them a bit of money, get them in the studio, put them on the pitch, put them at the training ground, put them in their fancy millionaires' homes, and show them playing it on a phone, on a laptop, on the big screen TV, anywhere, and then they put it down, then they go and take a penalty and smash it in the back of the net. And then everyone watching, all them like casual gamers who don't have the money or can't get their hands on a next-gen console, go, how are you playing next-gen FIFA on your phone? How is that even possible? Through the power of the cloud. It sells itself, and I really hope they just really, really back it this time.
Get a partnership with Barcelona. That's crying out for money at the moment.
and
so bad that the best player of all time, they've just had to let go because they can't. The league won't let them re-sign.
Crazy stuff, but I'm excited.
That's what happens when you run your business poorly, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm very excited though to see what it looks like. I'm sure we're going to get little tasty teasers of what the game looks like. Of course, 1st of October, it drops everywhere. A little bit early if you buy like the EA special premium unlimited bundle, but
it's just a couple of days though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 days early access.
So it's one of them. I wouldn't go for that version for the early access, to be honest.
No, I don't think many do. It's always there as an option now. Moving on to the next story of the week, we've got another interesting thing from some deals going on out there. South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone have just made a new deal with Comedy Central, Viacom CBS, the company that owns Comedy Central, to essentially bring some new content from the world of South Park, including new shows. Of course, the series is racking up those seasons now. It's into its 30th anniversary, which is crazy. In terms of content, though, the big thing that I pulled away for me and you and our Stadia audience out there is that we've had 2 South Park games. We've got a great relationship with Ubisoft, and those games potentially could come to Ubisoft Plus at some time, which we know from all the games rated from Ubisoft on Stadia, it could. But in here is the little nugget that they're also working on a new 3D video game set in the world of South Park. So we've had Stick of Truth, we've had The Fractured Butthole, of course. You've played them both, Richie. So let our audiences know what these games are like. Did you enjoy them? And what do we think about it coming to Stadia, potentially?
First of all, I enjoyed them both quite a lot. Stick of Truth is based on like their Lord of the Rings parody. Mm-hmm. So like you have to fight for the Stick of Truth, and so it's quite fantasy RPG, turn-based combat. Where Fractured Butthole is basically focused on more an MCU parody. It's basically a superhero civil war. Mm-hmm. So you play as like the Coonham Friends. But it's based on like a grid system. Mm-hmm. So like your different abilities will affect different parts of the grid. So the both turn-based RPGs, both very, very fun in their own way. So I'd love to see them both in Stadia.
Yeah, the comedy in particular, of course, the writers, they know how to write comedy. They've made entirely successful careers from writing comedy. So in terms of putting a story together, whether it's a video game or a TV show, you know you're going to be laughing whilst playing this game.
Yeah, if you're a fan of South Park, I think you'll like both of these games. The interesting thing is, I think the Ubisoft deals were... I think with Stick of Truth was going through like... It was originally meant to be published by THQ. Not THQ Nordic, but we know what happened there, and Ubisoft stepped in. Mm-hmm. And then I think they also funded published the second one, Fractured Butthole. But I think that might have been the end of the deal there.
Yeah, kind of.
It's been
come in and tidy it up.
4 years since a game, and now it's only now that we're hearing like a new announcement.
Yeah.
But there's no real talk about who the publisher is or anything yet. So
yeah.
I'd like to see it be Ubisoft because I think it adds something different to Ubisoft's library. They're very much not your classic Ubisoft game.
Yeah, they're not an open world, a massive open world game with loads of
there's no towers to reveal the map.
No, there's a couple of jokes that could be done in and amongst that itself. I've not had a chance to play these 2 games. They've always kind of been on, because they're not the type of games that which is ironic because I love the Ubisoft style games, so you're totally right, it's something different. I love South Park. Of course, we grew up with South Park. It was one of those shows that was on late at night and you probably weren't old enough to be watching it, and you probably learned a lot of swear words and a lot of naughty things that you shouldn't be saying from watching this show. And it's I mean, the 4 main characters are like, again, one of the most, I think you could put them in front of most people in the world and they would know who they were. The merchandise, everything sells itself. It's been around for so long and it's still going, and the way they turn around the episodes is such a quick turnaround. They actually must get a bit of a shock, the 2 creators, Trey and Matt, because of how long it takes to make a video game, whereas we've seen them turn around episodes but within a week based on current world events.
That's literally, there's an interesting documentary that kind of takes you through the process, and literally they make an episode a week because that's how they can say so up to date and so cutting edge, because the production is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
And paced.
And obviously video games take several years to make, so it's no wonder. But Ubisoft Plus, of course, we have on Stadia. It's a separate subscription you can play via direct. I would love to see these titles. Again, it's something we think to do with the dealings from the THQ publisher to moving over to Ubisoft. We think that might prevent the game from going on and being published on different platforms because of some probably legalities that have been left over.
I don't think it's probably got anything to do with THQ, because I think that's all dead and buried. I think these are very much Ubisoft published games.
Mm-hmm. But it may have been.
It's with them not being the owners of the South Park IP, then they'd have to go back to Trey and Parker's like parent company and probably negotiate things to republish that sort of thing. I mean, I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's kind of on like. This is one of them things to get them on Stadia. Google will probably have to go to Ubisoft, convince Ubisoft it's worth them going to South Park.
Yeah, which again, it's a lot of chefs involved in that making of the soup.
Chef's got for a show, didn't he? Because he was a Scientologist.
Yeah, chef's not around anymore. Yeah. Hey there, children. But in terms of the game, I'd love to see it. Just again, it's more franchises too, which I was quite happy with that impression there.
It's very good.
So we'll see that coming across to Stadia. Fingers crossed in the future. But until then, I guess we'll just have to watch with bated breath. But it's great to see we're getting another game. Again, something different in the world of video games. And it's nice to see. It's not a movie tie. I guess it could be a movie tie-in, because they've also announced as part of this deal they're going to be making another movie and more series. But
movies, I think. Movies? How many did this say? Yeah, it was plural.
Oh.
Reading from IGN, South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone have signed a deal that calls for the pair to develop 14 movies.
What? That's crazy. Okay, fair enough. It might be like on demand, because it's for Paramount Plus, isn't it? So it might be like the Amazon original movies, Netflix original movies. But hell yeah, more South Park, man. You can't go wrong with it.
So it's new. So there's more seasons of show, 14 movies in the game that basically have been greenlit.
Millions and millions of money. And again, Google has that money. So yeah, dig deep, guys. Do what you need to do to get those pesky kids from Colorado onto our platform. Right then, Richie, next story of the week, moving away from South Park. Riders Republic. Of course, the game just been delayed a little bit later to August 23rd, coming out on the platform, part of Ubisoft Plus, which we just spoke about. They dropped a beta this week, and interestingly enough, as part of the beta, you can sign up to play on Stadia. Now, we obviously don't know, there's not been any official announcement, but I clicked the link. I went through. Stadia was an option. I've signed up for the Riders Republic beta on Stadia. Yeah. So now I'm just waiting.
We know the release date is 28th of October, and the beta runs from the 23rd of August to the 25th of August. So I'm assuming that because we can sign up as for Stadia as on the beta, that we can play this beta on Stadia. That's my assumption. Yep,
I picked it. You'd like to think we'll find out probably in the next fortnight or so, I guess. We've still got a few weeks until the beta kicks off. But yeah, it's one of them. It's one of those titles that I think it's going to benefit very well from people just checking it out and kind of getting the word out there, because it's such a different game from what Ubisoft usually put. I know they've got like The Crew and some other titles, but this is definitely the first of its kind, mashing together all these different styles of game and different sports. So for me, I'm wanting to test it out, just to kind of test the waters, whether or not I actually want to commit and buy this thing or subscribe to Ubisoft Plus. So,
thing we should point out as well, so I'm just reading from my email from Ubisoft about this. Your registration for a chance to play the Rise of the Republic in the upcoming beta. So there's no guarantee that we will get approved, but fingers crossed we do, because I want to give these a go.
Yeah, and we've not had any betas on Stadia yet, have we? We've had demos.
We've had early access.
We've
had early access. I suppose you could kind of think of things like Humankind as a bit of a beta.
Yeah. We'll see. So the link's still there. Head over to Ubisoft's Twitter or Facebook or website, I guess, and you can find the link. Again, it does give you all platforms. You can go in and change it. So if you applied for the beta and you want to switch to PlayStation or something, you can do that after the fact. And funny you should mention there, Richie, Humankind, that's out this month, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still got it on pre-order?
Yeah, I have.
Because you get discount if you pre-order it, right? There was a special price.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been months.
It was
a while.
ages ago. It's been over a year since we did the first look as part of the Good Stuff event, if I recall. We got Pac-Man, that, and Immortals Phoenix Rising demos to try. We need more demos. I feel like it's been so long since we tried a demo. So fingers crossed this might be a version.
Yeah, you're right. It's $39.83 as a special pre-order, and it'll go up to $47.99 at launch.
Wonderful.
Both in pounds, which is weird prices, but okay.
Tax, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of actually the different types of genres and stuff, jumping between South Park and Humankind and stuff, that leads us in probably quite well to our SideQuest episode this week, Richie, where we're going to be talking about...
We're talking about what genres are still quite missing or underrepresented on Stadia.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to talking about it because it's been a while since we talked about games on Stadia or lack thereof of specific genres. Yeah. So, and remember our YouTube members do get that 6 days early. It drops every Sunday to our exclusive members. From as little as 99p, you can get early access to that content. But if not, do not fear. It will still go. All of our content, as promised, always goes on free feeds eventually. We don't gatekeep anything behind a price wall. That drops every Friday on the channel too. So if you want to check that out sooner, you can do. If you want to hang fire a little bit, you can watch it then as well, every Friday. Things that are coming out, Richie, not too far away. One, Merek's Market. And I always feel like I have to say it with that Yorkshire twang to it. Merek's Market is been confirmed for September 15th. So just over 1 month away. They confirmed it over on their Twitter account. Super excited that Merek's Market is launching on the Stadia, PlayStation and Xbox platforms this September 15th. And they also put out a new little gameplay trailer too, to go alongside it. Of course, it's described as a chaotic crafting game about running a medieval shop. We've all been the one buying weapons and armor from a shop, but what is it like to run one? Strange customers? Yes. Over-the-top crafting challenges? You bet. A shop cat? Absolutely. Take ownership of Merek's Market as you haggle, barter and craft your way through a comical single-player campaign or team up with friends to supply the whole town. Of course, we saw this one. They confirmed it on Twitter it was going to come across the platform. If memory serves me right, this was a part of the Stadia Developers Program. I feel like they did some back and forth with the Stadia dev teams to bring this to the platform early doors. I'm sure that was a thing. I know there's a great article over at stadiasource.com if you want to read a little bit further. They interviewed Big Village Games who are bringing the title across to the platform. But either way, Richie, September 15th, coming to Stadia, of course. The gameplay has actually showcased a little bit more of what it's about. Now, we initially thought it looked a little bit like Overcooked, but it seems to be now with a single-player campaign. It's just got a bit more to it. It's got some little puzzle games. It's got some kind of crafting, almost like rhythm games built into it, where as you're making stuff, you've got to hit the beat in line.
Yeah, it's got some...
There's a
it's
dog
got
park.
a mixture of different like game types, mini game sort of stuff in there.
Merek's Market. Probably a pro game, right?
Yeah. Well, if it comes September the 15th, I'm guessing not.
Oh, I didn't mean just like brand new out the gate pro game. I just think eventually.
I think it'll be a pro game eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
I mean, it was part of Stadia Makers, so it could go pro at some point. I think it's got a good chance.
You'd imagine with Stadia Makers there is some not rule in the contract, but some caveat to the contract that says, oh, you'll actually, if it goes pro, or we have like first dibs on it going pro or something, as opposed to PlayStation Plus or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting because again, it's coming out on PlayStation and Xbox on the same day, so very interesting to see. But not too long to wait, at all. And also, it seems like we don't have too long to wait for FarCry Blood Dragon as well. FarCry 3 Blood Dragon. Our friend Cody Maloney over on Twitter always checks the ratings boards to see what's coming up. And Blood Dragon has been rated for Stadia, which usually means it's not too far away. And I am a big advocate for Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which, interesting enough, I don't think we're getting Far Cry 3 still. I don't know if that was confirmed or not. My memory today is still recovering. But Blood Dragon, you've never played Blood Dragon, right, Richie?
I haven't. I think the only FarCry game I've put a decent amount of time in might have been free.
Right. Oh, well, this is kind of right up that alleyway. And I've described to you before, it's in the future, lots of lasers, lots of 80s music. It's off the chain crazy levels of like Ubisoft fun. It's its own standalone story, so you don't need to go back and play Far Cry 3 to make sure you know what's going on. You've got essentially like laser swords, there's giant blood dragons, which are essentially Tyrannosaurus Rexes that shoot lasers from the mouth. It's absolutely crazy. I've got a voice actor in there is Kyle from the first Terminator movie, so you'll recognise that in there. And it's just crazy wacky fun, and it's great that it's standalone, and I cannot wait to play. This is one of the older games that I haven't had a reason to go back to because it's stranded on my PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So the fact that I can now play this on my phone in the cloud on Stadia has me super hyped. So yeah, really excited for this one. And you did our look on the channel for Far Cry 5 first look.
Yes.
So if it is the right price, which it is a very, very small title, we should point out, it's not like a full massive Far Cry game. It is a much, much smaller piece. I'd love to see your take on it if the time comes, and if it's in there.
I hope it comes to Ubisoft Plus, because I could consider just playing it through there.
Jump in.
I don't currently have Ubisoft Plus, but I'd be open to getting it.
Same here. And that's the reason, that's what's so good about it. But yeah, looking forward to it. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, recently rated for Stadia. Next up on the dock, a couple of news stories left to go through for the week. Assassin's Creed Vallhalla, constantly getting updates. It feels like every other week I feel like we get an update regarding Season Pass, festival content drops, or news regarding it. A trustworthy leaker has told us that some script work that's came out of the upcoming project is highlighting that a familiar character may be returning to Assassin's Creed Vallhalla. Now, slight spoiler alert for those who've not played Assassin's Creed Odyssey to its fullest, and probably Vallhalla to its fullest as well. So if you want to pause the podcast, fast forward a little bit, just so you don't get kept in the loop. Myself and Richie, of course, have finished it. There's a full spoiler cast episode if you want to hear our thoughts about the full game. One of our early SideQuest episodes is available right now to go
There's also a full playthrough of Odyssey in our channel.
You are totally right, there is. You and me played through Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so yeah, why not go watch all of that, play Vallhalla, then listen to the spoiler cast, then come back to this particular this 1 hour into episode 98 of the podcast, so that we can tell you that apparently Cassandra, or I guess Alexios from Odyssey, depending on how they're going to sort this out, is Cassandra canon or not? We don't really know.
I think it's just Cassandra by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think people prefer Cassandra.
I think it's just I think Ubisoft may have made a decision that Cassandra is the canon character.
Yeah. I mean, she's my favourite. I played, of course, full through Alexios on the PlayStation, and then played through it with you and Cassandra on Odyssey, and I did prefer Cassandra at the end of it too. It worked a little bit better. But yeah, the rumour is, from the dialogue options, that she meets Eivor at some point in some future DLC or some future expansion, because they are continuing to support the game through 2022 and beyond as Ubisoft make this pivot towards more games of a service for the single-player games. Of course, for those who have played the game, you will know that Cassandra does not die. And she also has a magical staff, which sounds crazy saying about a Ubisoft game, Assassin's Creed game, sorry. She has a magical staff that doesn't allow her to die. And she is very much alive and well in present-day modern Assassin's Creed world. So she will have been alive and around at the time Vallhalla takes place, which is, of course, after ancient Greece. Don't know how this is going to play out. Never happened before. I don't really think that a protagonist has crossed over. We've had obviously games have came out and have featured characters from previous games, but none that surpassed such a wide time frame, generations.
It's very interesting from a story perspective. It's how does Eivor stumble across Cassandra, or does Cassandra seek Eivor out for certain reasons?
Because they are part of the same creed, essentially, so they are in tandem with each other, but never happened. And one of my biggest pet peeves about the Assassin's Creed franchise, and we go into it in the spoiler cast as well, is that you build all of this kind of history with a character and then they move on to a different location and you never see them again. Part of why the Ezio collection for me is one of the best ones is that you stick with a protagonist through multiple parts of his life.
His full story.
Yeah, so no matter how much you like Cassandra, once you finish Odyssey, it's the game's done. That's you're never probably going to see her again. There's so many assassins from yesteryear that I would love to see more. Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins, he had a great story arc, and yet he's just left in ancient Egypt, and we never get to see the progression of his story. So I'd love Ubisoft to do something, maybe with Assassin's Creed Infinity. We've theorised that a few podcasts back, that they could really go in depth and just flesh out the characters. I'd love to see some characters return from previous games in some animus, magic way, shape or form. But yeah, Cassandra in Vallhalla, folks. She might well just be around the corner in future updates. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Be interested in how it would pull different audience members in, like people who loved Odyssey but maybe didn't like Vallhalla as much. Here's Cassandra back, and will she be playable, or is she just going to be someone that you meet? We'll have to wait and find out. Of course, the next big edition, the Siege of Paris DLC, does arrive next week. So if you've got the Season Pass, you can jump in and play that as well. So, of course, do remember, Ubisoft not officially confirmed this, but it is in the data of the game, so we shall see. Speaking of digging into the data, Richie, one of the last stories of the week, we got a Stadia APK breakdown file. Our friends over at 9to5 Google doing some good techie digging into the files, of course, that drop on Android. You're able to break it in and look at it. Not many massive bits from this week. There's some updates to the screenshot and Google Assistant being folded in. We've got updates coming to the touchscreen gamepad. Of course, we know there's a bridge mode coming, which is going to allow you to use your phone as a controller on another screen. So there's some additional icons and stuff added in.
I think, for me, bridge mode is by far the biggest thing that I've taken away from this, because bridge mode will effectively be able to enable you, if you've already got a Chromecast or you've got a TV that's got Stadia enabled now, and you've got an old PlayStation 4 controller, you don't want to buy a new controller, you can basically use your phone to bridge the gap, so you can use your PlayStation controller on your TV while playing Stadia. Yeah, which I think there's loads of people asking for that sort of feature. So
yeah, how can you play it? Of course, just Stadia, just keep tweaking things and adding new features. One of the other things they mentioned is the Explore tab. We joked about it absolutely months ago now for how redundant the Explore tab within the app actually is, and it looks like it's getting a bit of a refresh. They've got some new titles coming out from the community feed, being able to see or delete your posts. They did actually mention it, I think, as part of, I don't think it was a blog post, I think it might have been one of the chats with Chris and Grace over on the one of the blog threads. Of course, founders and stuff, you can go in and actually leave comments. I don't think it's utilised that much, but I'm pretty sure in there they mentioned they were going to bring kind of share features to the Explore tab, like screenshots and gameplay clips and stuff. So it looks like the APK file is revealing that that's not too far away now. Some of the other points they mentioned is you can see or delete your posts. If you posted a capture, it's visible to who you follow. You can edit the posts, you can delete them, you can undo it later on as well. So just a couple of tags that suggest it's not too far away. Also, we've got party chat, icons for joining the party chat voices available, battery indicators, and potentially some changes to Ubisoft Plus subscription. So probably just more little niche details, but another APK breakdown. Like we said, nothing massive, but it's nice to know they're still digging away and improving everything.
Still chipping away at improving a lot of small things behind the scenes that will make your life slightly better.
Indeed, and it's about time the good old Explore tab had something done different.
Yeah, the Explore tab it's kind of pretty sad at the moment. I did just check while we're talking about it, and it's the same as it's been for over a year probably at this point. Yeah,
which we've said. Yeah, I still personally would like to see a tab for your achievements. It's still crazy. The procedure to get to your trophies is still so convoluted, and it's different on desktop to phone.
I'd like to have something as well, that give a bit more to the achievement meta. So where PlayStation has your profile level, Xbox has your gamer score, something along that line. Yeah.
I also would like a way, while we're talking about achievements, a way to see what the hidden ones are. So on PlayStation, you can go in and just click it and then go reveal trophy, and it shows you what's hidden. On Stadia, it just says keep playing the game to find out. It's that doesn't help me know what I have to do. There's at the bottom of all of my games, there's just 4 or 5 grayed out ones that just say hidden. What do I do other than go and research it elsewhere? Which it's a little tweak. Of course, I'm sure Stadia Hunters, JP, our good friend over there, has all the know-how if you do want to find out the answer. Right, Richie, final story for the week before our audience can go about their days. PUBG is getting a little bit of a rebrand. This is just a little funny article to round out the show. Of course, PUBG, the only battle royale on Stadia at the moment, one of the first frontrunners. We spoke about Fortnite on the show. Crafton Games, who kind of developed the title. Of course, it is full title, to give it its full name, it is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, reduced down to PUBG. They want to make it a little bit different, so it's been rebranded to PUBG Battlegrounds.
Yes.
Which means the new name of the game is technically PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. which is just... It has a little chuckle. Of course, the reason they're doing this is because they have got other titles like mobile games coming out. They've got PUBG New State, which is an upcoming game. Of course, they are working on a single-player story within the PUBG universe, which I'm guessing is going to be titled PUBG: something else.
Yeah.
But it is just...
It still feels unnecessary. Like, PUBG was something that basically the fans of the game came up with to, like, abbreviate what is a long game title, a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
And having PUBG single player, that sort of thing, is fine. But I don't know. I don't see the benefit of this change. It just seems
it is just laughable.
Pointless.
It is laughable to think. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's. I mean, you could argue PUBG in the first instance, like, because Battlegrounds is one word. So BG for PUBG. It's not. It is just. It's like I said. It's just phonetically. It's easier to say.
It was a fan created thing, so I was like, it could just be pub.
Yeah, it should just be pub.
But that means something else.
Yeah, do you want to hit the pub? Not now. Not quite yet. I haven't recovered yet. No. Hair of the dog kind of scenario. So of course, PUBG does actually have a free to play weekend coming up soon. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it starts August 10th, so a few days. Well, tomorrow as this podcast goes live. So it'll be interesting to see if we see more free-to-play action over on Stadia front. We will get back probably to PUBG soon. It's always fun when we jump in, forget how to play the game, have to remember how to play the game, and then the ring of death.
Killed immediately.
Kill immediately, jump back in. We'll probably have another community stream of PUBG in the coming weeks, no doubt. Let us know if you want to see it as part of the 100th, I was going to say 100th anniversary then, the 100th episodes, celebrations, whatever they do look like.
Well, second year anniversary is actually coming up as well.
It is, yeah. Sounds of Stadia Celebration 2, the sequel, will no doubt be on the horizon. And again, we do have some plans for that one. But that is it, folks. That brings us to an end of episode 98 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thanks for sticking with us so far through this as we are on the road to 100. Thanks for listening to all the stories this week. And if you haven't done so already, do give the video a little like. It does help us out. It helps the channel and these videos reach newer audiences. So if you're out there, you've just got your hands on a Stadia pack, you're getting ready and you're thinking, you know what, I'd like to talk and discuss and listen to the community and talk about all things games. They will find us, they will find you, you will find... It's a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, Richie. If they click like, they share it with their friends, then they find more Stadia gamers. That grows the platform, which means more developers look at bringing games to the platform, and that just helps everyone out. We've said all this episode, we've said about chicken and egg, Catch-22.
Yeah. So if that big game that's coming out in 2023, you want that to come to Stadia, you've got to like this video.
Yeah, and if you don't, you just...
Then it's on you.
It's on you, yeah.
This is why all them people who didn't like the video who watched it before, that's why we didn't get Battlefield.
Yeah, that's why. It's weird because we do joke, but across all the amazing content creators out there, it does help the algorithms. And it obviously we're talking like with such a small, tiny fraction of that. But it does. More people will see Stadia videos in their feeds, therefore they're more curious about Stadia, they might check it out. So yeah, do it, folks. Hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of our live streams, our Let's Plays, our SideQuest episode where we're about to go away right now and discuss what genres is still missing from Stadia, or maybe what genres we'd like to see a little bit more of. And our members, of course, get that up to 6 days early. So click join down below if you'd like to support us more so than just clicking that thumbs up. But other than that, thank you, Richie, once again, for the episode, joining me to talk about games and Stadia. Thank you, viewers and listeners out there. Have a great week. Game on, and we'll see you this Thursday for some actual gaming. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia, episode 98. Take care, everyone. Game on.
Hit like.